Vine was in the kitchen deciding what to cook for dinner as she knew that her husband didn't even have breakfast. So she went in the kitchen earlier than usual. But she heard a thud of something falling on the floor outside. She went out to check and saw Jungkook there. He never came home early from his work. He threw his bag on the floor, loosened his tie after throwing off the coat, which had little stains of blood on them. She didn't get afraid of them anymore, as she was used to them by now. Vine bit her nails after seeing him like that and wanted to go ask him right away, but he was too angry. He sat on the couch with his legs wide open, his elbows on his thighs, and his hands on forehead, and he looked like someone tired of the reality they've been living in. She slowly went to him and sat beside him, putting a hand on his shoulder with all the comfort and relaxedness. Wine. Jungkook, what's wrong? Are you okay? Her soft voice echoed in his ears, but he didn't give a reaction. He stayed at his place. He wanted to be alone at the moment. His frustration could be seen in his response. Jungkook, fine. I can't bear the weight of this responsibility any longer. This life we lead, especially me, it's suffocating, he said in an angry tone. His eyes could tell her what he's been going through. Vine, unwavered by his harsh tone, approached him again. Her eyes held a calm determination as she decided to reveal the notes of anger within him. Vine, explain to me what happened. I will help you. We're in this together, right? Her voice, a smooth melody which was unperceived by him. Her heartbeat completely calmed and her mind racing while thinking of the solution. Jungkook, help? Wine, you have no idea what it's like. The pressure, the constant danger. I never signed up for this. The anger in his tone deepened, the fire in his heart increased, and the flames of it reached his eyes. Wine reached out, placing a soothing hand on his hand, the touch gentle yet firm. He was so angry that he could burn her at the moment, and he was going to, but he looked at her. He looked at the shining eyes that had only hope in them, no matter the circumstances. The eyes that contained unexplained determination. The eyes that were so beautiful and deep that anyone could get lost in them. And so he did. The fire in his heart seemed to cool down for the moment he was lost in her eyes. The grip of his hand softened. Fine. I don't understand what you're going through, but we can find a way through this. Let's face it together. You're not alone. You will never be. She said and smiled, her small smile which didn't even mean anything to her. But for him, he found his universe in there. Jungkook. It's like living in a cage, Vine. I can't escape the expectations, the dangers. I thought leading this life would bring me power, but it feels like a prison. I don't want to be caged anymore. Let me be free, please, he said as he held her hand back tightly. She placed her hand on the back of his hand and pulled it close to her, making his head rest on his shoulder. Fine. Let's not think about it today. We will find a way tomorrow. A way to make this life ours, not just something we endure. We're not alone in this struggle. Jungkook's shoulders, tense with the burden of anger, began to relax under Vine's touch. His emotion-full voice spoke up. Jungkook, it's not that simple, Vine. I feel like I'm losing myself, and I never wanted you to get entangled in this mess. A tear fell from his eyes as he said that about her, as he regretted his decisions. He never regretted what he did, never once. Ever since she came in his life, he never cried upon things like that, considering them a part of his life and fate, until he put his head on her shoulder. He didn't care about the surroundings at the moment. He let his tear fall down. Fine. And I never wanted you to face it alone. We're partners, remember? He smiled and said, just what are you made of? He huffed. She smiled and looked at him and wiped his tear. He raised his face to look at her. She cupped his face in her tiny hands and said, fine. I learned it from you. So, did you consider forgetting everything for today? He held her hand softly, which was on his cheek, and kissed gently on it, looking at her hand for a few seconds before looking at her eyes, then at her lips. He nodded. Jungkook, I will try to, at least for today, he said and pecked her lips, softly, firmly, resiliently. They closed their eyes and felt the depth of it. His anger and frustration melted away from his body, as he badly needed something like this at the moment. After breaking the smooth kiss without taking it any further, he hugged her and said, thank you for always being with me, always bearing my anger without getting tired. I'm grateful to have you. Wine. We are not alone, and you don't need to care about being alone at all from now on. I will never leave your side, so better be habitual of this. He scoffed. Wine. I was going to make dinner. She slapped his arm. I'm late because of you. You will have to help me now. Jungkook. Why are you cooking dinner today? Just ask the maid. Wine. Did you eat anything the whole day? Jungkook. Yes, I had breakfast. No, I didn't. Wine. Exactly. And I know you don't like the maid's food as much as you like mine. So get up already, she said and got up, stretching his arm for him to get up too. Jungkook. But Wine, I'm tired. Wine. Okay then, you can sit in the kitchen and watch me. It's not like I'm asking you to harvest the vegetables and then cook for me. Just come with me, she said and dragged him towards the kitchen. She knew if he stayed there, he will keep thinking about things he is going through, and she knew that he will never tell her anything about it, nor will she be able to understand. That's why she didn't force him to tell her. In the kitchen, Vine got to work while Jungkook slumped into the chair by the counter, watching her move around the kitchen, which brought a small sense of comfort to him. Vine, what do you feel like eating? Something warm, spicy, or light? Jungkook, anything you make will be fine. Vine shook her head, smiling to herself. Vine, so helpful. If you help me, this will be done faster. Then you can go sleep or do whatever the things you need to do. Jungkook chuckled under his breath. Whatever? She smirked, tossing him a knife. Yes, whatever. Now chop the garlic. He smirked and took the knife. Leaning forward, he started chopping the garlic. Fine. Not bad, but if you were part of the kitchen staff, you would be fired. Jungkook huffed a laugh and tossed a garlic clove at her. She gasped. What are you doing? Jungkook. Why, you didn't like it? He said, tossing another one on her. Fine grabbed a handful of flour from a nearby jar and, without warning, flung it toward him. It hit him square in the chest, sending a puff of white dust into the air. Jungkook stared at her, wide eyed. Jungkook. Oh, so you wanna fight now? He said, standing up from his chair with slow, deliberate steps. Wine, you're the one who started it. Wine stepped back towards the counter, trying to escape, but Jungkook caught her by her waist and spun her around, laughing. Real, genuine laughter, the kind that seemed so rare lately. Wine. Okay, okay, stop, she shouted between giggles, wriggling in his arms. Jungkook. Too late for that. He rubbed a bit of the leftover flour on her nose, grinning as she scowled playfully. The whole kitchen buzzed with their laughter, and for the first time in a while, the world outside their little kitchen didn't seem so overwhelming.